Yes,
Looks
looks
good.
good to me.
All right. So yeah, if you're not familiar, I was the entomologist with the group starting in 2012 until the end of last year. And then I took over as vice president of the Ag Research Department at the beginning of this past year. And so I just want to kind of give an overview of what we've been doing in the department and across the company in terms of this NIFA research program. It's a grant program presented through NIFA AFRI. And just going to kind of give you an overview, high-level overview of what NIFA is, the research that's been funded, and how the whole process works. So a good question to start off with is, what is NIFA? Well, it was started under the USDA, and it is an acronym for the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. It was established by the 2008 Farm Bill to find innovative solutions to issues related to agriculture, food, the environment, and communities. And so NIFA's mission is a pretty simple statement. They're looking to invest in and advance agricultural research, education, and extension to solve societal challenges. And so actually it pairs quite well with Cotton Incorporated's mission, which is to increase the demand for and profitability of cotton through research and promotion. So their program focuses more on the ag research side. So not a lot of promotional activities, but a lot of the research that we're doing does go towards our sustainability messaging and just how we're showing the, defending cotton's reputation and showing the good things that you guys are doing in the field and using that as we're talking with brands and retailers and consumers as well. So it all ends up kind of rolling up into one big ball. But luckily, our two missions align pretty significantly. Particularly under NIFA, they have established the AFRI grant program. And this came in 2014, where it is allowing the various commodity boards, such as the Cotton Board and other similar research and promotion boards, either at a state or national level, to participate in this program. And AFRI just stands for the Agriculture and Food Research Initiative, which is implemented by NIFA. The way it works is that NIFA agrees to co-fund ag research projects that are consistent with the agency's ag research priorities. And so they co-fund it with the various research and promotion boards, whoever's interested in participating. The topics that go into this program are developed annually. So every year, a new set of topics can be submitted, or if you've got a lot of that type of research you want to do, commodity boards can continue to submit the same topics for a number of years in a row to make sure they get all the projects that have been submitted that they would like funded, give them a higher opportunity to have a chance of funding. But everything is reevaluated on an annual basis in terms of the initiation of a project. Projects themselves can run anywhere from 1 to 5 years, but the funding at the outset of the project is static. So you have to make the decision. And each project, once it's accepted, is funded at a minimum of $300,000 over the term of the project. And that amount of money is split dollar for dollar between the commodity boards and NIFA. So NIFA, the projects have to fit under their research priorities, similar to our missions. Their research priorities and our research priorities line up quite well. These are the Ag Research Department's priorities and how we're working towards improving agriculture cotton production systems with the money that growers are putting in. We recognize that if we're not addressing current problems, then there's no way we can be sustainable. So by definition, we have to fix today's problems so you're farming tomorrow. And we're doing that by putting a high focus on projects related to yield and quality, both in terms of improving yield potential, but also protecting yield from pests and pathogens. And as we're doing that and protecting yield, we're trying to do it as efficiently as possible with the inputs that we're using, whether it be insecticides or fungicides, herbicides, as well as how we're managing nutrients and other inputs going into the crop. And then we're constantly validating new technologies. How do we make sure that that we're using the most cutting edge technology to deliver solutions on the farm. So just walking through the process of how funding these research projects works on a given calendar year. So Cotton Incorporated starts the process by developing the topic areas for research, and then we submit those topics to NIFA. NIFA reads through the topics. Oftentimes they accept them exactly as we submitted them. Sometimes they have a few questions and want to modify some wording here and there. But once NIFA accepts the topic areas, they are included in a request for proposals. When that request for proposals goes public, Cotton Incorporated research directors work with research scientists across the belt and sometimes even outside of the Cotton Belt to develop strong proposals that will ultimately be submitted to NIFA. So a little bit of how that works, if you're not familiar with our Ag and Environmental Research Department, there are 7 of us in the department. We have subject matter experts in the main disciplines impacting ag research in cotton. We have Dr. Ed Barnes, who is our ag engineer. We have Dr. Don Jones, who covers our breeding and genomics areas. Dr. Sally Taylor is the newest member of the department. She replaced me as the entomologist this past January. Dr. Caitlin Bissonette is covering pathology and nematology, as well as our electronic outreach efforts. Dr. Galen Morgan is covering various aspects of agronomy, including soil health and weed science. Dr. Evie Jaconis is covering our cottonseed program and using both on human and animal nutrition. And then I took over as the vice president of ag research. So we commonly work with research scientists in cotton to make sure that we're directing our resources to the right research scientists to solve the problems that you're facing today, and then also how to make sure that we're also spending enough time addressing future problems. And so we spend a lot of time working with people in the field, trying to understand what the problems are. So we work directly with them. So it's kind of a stepwise process. We're developing the topic areas for research that we think are important. And then we often target top researchers in the field that we feel confident can address the issues that fall under the NIFA priority areas. So once the proposals are developed, they are submitted to NIFA. Then we, Cotton Incorporated and the Cotton Board, have an opportunity to review the proposals. We've had a lot of input along the way, so none of this is usually coming as a surprise to us. We've had input to help make the proposals as strong as possible. And once the proposals have been submitted, then the ones that we choose that we support, the Cotton Board provides a letter of support to NIFA for that particular proposal. Once that happens, a panel of experts in the various research areas end up ranking the proposals based on merit. It's a 1 to 5 scale. If it gets a 1, 2, or a 3, NIFA considers it as a fundable project. If it ranks 4 or 5, NIFA says it is a lower priority or didn't meet their expectations and it is not fundable. But if it's in any of the first 3 categories, then it is at least has the option of being funded. NIFA comes back to us. Oftentimes, they'll say, here's our top 2, here's our top 3. They give us an opportunity to say which of those we would like to co-fund along with them. And then they enter specifically into the agreement with the individual researcher. So the contract is not between Cotton Incorporated or Cotton Board and the researcher. It is from NIFA to the research scientist. So a couple of other points about that. No project gets funded unless it receives a letter of support from the Cotton Board. So basically, we are the gatekeepers. If it's something that we don't feel meets our standards or is a priority for the industry, even after working with researchers to get it to the point of submission, we still have the opportunity to not provide a letter of support if it doesn't meet our expectations. At the moment, the Cotton Board commitment is currently $150,000 per topic. So that is essentially matched dollar for dollar with NIFA funds. So the projects are receiving $300,000 either and could be 1 year or up to 5 years in terms. That's how we're currently doing it. I don't actually know what the upper limit is, but we're considering this in terms of, do we continue funding at this level, or should we possibly increase the level of funding per topics and reduce the number of topics? Another point that's really important in leveraging these funds is that NIFA gets more projects or more proposals that are of high quality than we can actually co-fund with them, just because of the limitations in the money that we have available. NIFA can then choose more than one project to fund in a topic area. And if they choose additional topics, NIFA then chooses to fully fund those projects out of their money without a match from us. So NIFA would then be, because we've agreed to fund one project, NIFA could fund 2 or 3 additional projects fully that we're not responsible for matching. So over time, the orange bars in this graph is what Cotton Incorporated, the funding that we have provided. And then the gray bar is the funding that NIFA has provided on top of that. We started the program in 2018. We did not submit a topic in 2019, but we then started back in 2020, and we have every year since then. It's been working quite well. So as you can see, we've increased our contribution, which has also greatly increased NIFA's contribution in any given year to funding research projects. And so over the 4 cycles that we've participated in, 27 projects were funded, resulting in $8.1 million in funding for the research projects. And that $8.1 million in total was leveraged based on an investment of only $2.5 million over the 4 years from the Cotton Board and Cotton Incorporated. So just to kind of walk you through some of the recent topics, these are the first 3 of 6 that we submitted last year, that we are just this week finding out which projects were funded out of that cycle. The first 3 topics were developing advanced high throughput visual fiber phenotyping microscopy tools that will lead to superior cotton fiber quality. We're looking at approaches to enhance the microbiome in cotton production, to improve plant development, nutrition, water utilization, or to mitigate pathogens or other abiotic stresses such as drought. We're looking at developing advanced IPM techniques that will complement and preserve current crop protection products for weed and insect pests of cotton. We are also looking at a broad topic area of how to reduce climate impacts and improve the resilience of cotton production systems. We're looking at developing improved systems for soil health, carbon sequestration, biogenic carbon storage in products through the life cycle. We're looking at investing potential contributions of cottonseed oil and or its components for human health and nutrition, and improving our understanding of emerging and re-emerging pests and pathogen threats to U.S. to increase profitability. So just a couple of, we funded 27 projects over 4 cycles, so there's no way to really go into great detail on the results, but just wanted to give you an overview of how the program works, what we're putting into it, and what we're hoping to get out of it. I do have a few projects I'll just go through just to show some of the early projects that were funded are now coming to completion. A lot of the ones that we've started in 2021 and 22 are still, it's too early really to present on any of the results. But a couple that have stood out that were early were on dealing with FOV4, which is a pathogen that's primarily out west in California and parts of Texas at the moment. There were 2 research projects with Chris Saskey, Jim Olvey, and Don Jones. The results of these projects have resulted in in cotton lines that are resistant to FOV4. And through that work, they've also identified the causative genes that are providing the resistance to FOV4. Dr. Don Jones also had efforts with the pangenome, a couple of different projects. This is just trying to understand better the genetics of cotton, what makes elite varieties or elite lines elite. And through this, they have developed a pangenome so that they have this as a resource. And as of talking with Don yesterday, they have a couple of papers submitted that are about to be released, and they have discovered genes that he considers of agronomic importance. So these are just kind of helping us build the basis for improving yield, quality, other agronomic beneficially traits, and how to use this as a building block to better improve cotton going forward. Another one, which is a good example of how we're additionally leveraging these resources. Dr. Galen Morgan had a product with Dr. Unruh Snyder at NC State a couple of years ago, looking at how do we assess better the visual damage to cottonseed so that we can improve planting seed quality. So it was a smaller research project that Dr. Unruh Snyder developed some results for, which then allowed her to use those results to apply for the NIFA grant, which she ultimately received. And it's just set up to where she's looking to improve get a better understanding of biotic and abiotic factors that are affecting visually mechanically damaged seed, and how that's impacting quality. And thus, once we know what we're dealing with, how can we use that to improve the value and profitability of cottonseed? So that kind of wraps up where we've been. Next steps, where we are going with this program. So for 2023, the last round of the topics that I went through, the 6 topics that we submitted, we had 17 project proposals that were submitted under those topics. We know that at the moment, we have found out at least 7 of those will be funded. I'm optimistic that NIFA may actually pick up a couple more of those projects after the new year to fully fund. But at the moment, they've let us know that there are 6 of those projects that they will be co-funding with us. 1 for sure that they will be fully funding on their own, and hopefully 2 or 3 more they will choose to pick up. But we often don't find out about that for sure until after the new year. For 2024, the topic requests are due to NIFA by the end of this week. So what we're doing this week is I'm working with the research directors here to understand which projects we have decided on will be funded for next year. So that's going to impact which topics we end up submitting to NIFA for the next cycle. So that's what we're doing right now. This week is going to be spent trying to really tune that so that we get the most value for your dollar that we're putting in, to make sure that if we've got projects that were funded last year, are there additional projects in that topic area we want to give PIs an opportunity to resubmit, or do we need to just submit a completely different topic and kind of change directions a little bit? And just as I close, I just want to say that I really appreciate the opportunity that the Cotton Board has provided, and providing these funds directly to NIFA. To participate in the program, you have to actually be the checkoff program or a state approved research and promotion program. Where Cotton Incorporated is working with the Cotton Board on this, we are not the checkoff program. So we appreciate the effort the Cotton Board has put into this to work with us to make sure that we can leverage the dollars as effectively as possible. But we're evaluating this each year to make sure, is this process still working? Are we putting in the right amount of money? Do we have the right number of topics? And as we're working with our budget and their budget, just kind of forecasting, what do we predict that we'll be able to continue to put into this project? So we are evaluating it annually just to make sure we're doing the right thing and that we're getting the most value out of it for growers.